In this problem, I need to simplify the square root of 24 x to the 5th, y to the 9, z to the 8th. And to do that, I'm going to use the product rule of radicals. But in this case, since I'm using square roots, my index is going to be a 2. So I can write the product rule of radicals as the square root of a times b equals the square root of a times the square root of b. So let's look at our numbers first. So I have a 24. Can we factor that, and can we maybe cut to the chase and factor it into two factors, one of which is a perfect square? Well, 4 is a perfect square. 4 goes into 24 6 times. So here's my perfect square. And 6 is, does 6 contain any perfect squares? No, it's just 2 times 3. So I'm going to write this as the square root of 4 times 6 times x to the 5th, y to the 9th, z to the 8th. And let's look at the numbers. The square root of 4 times 6, I can write as the square root of 4 times the square root of 6 using the product rule of radicals. And then I'm going to write it as the square root of x to the 5th times the square root of y to the 9th times the square root of z to the 8th. So, what's the square root of 4? It's 2. Can I simplify the square root of 6? No. I'm going to leave some room, and I'm going to write the square root of 6 inside the radical. Now let's look at the square root of x to the 5th power. There's a shortcut method to simplify this, and the shortcut method is remembering the index is a 2. The shortcut method says you take the index and divide it into the exponent. Well, 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract remainder of 1. The whole number is the power on the x outside. So it's going to give me x squared outside. The remainder is the power on the x inside. So it's x to the first power. So repeating the process for the y's, I have 2 divides into 9. 2 divides into 9 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract. So I'm going to get y to the 4th outside. And how many y's do I get left inside? 1. And the last thing is, let's do the same for the z's. 2 divides into 8. How many times? 2 divides into 8 4 times. Is there any remainder? None. So that means I'm going to have z to the 4th outside, but no z's left inside. So my final answer is 2x squared y to the 4th, z to the 4th, times the square root of 6xy.